Hey guys, Dr. Rankin here, back with the next injury prevention video series where we're going to go over injuries for the hip. First exercise we're going to go over is a hip flexor stretch. The hip flexors, as we know, are very heavily involved with swimming. These guys undergo a lot of repetitive motion because they're the main drivers of our power and our speed for our kick for all 4 strokes. So we want to make sure that the hip flexors are staying nice and loose and we're taking care of any issues with those guys that might lead to an injury further down the road. For this exercise, we're going to go over 2 different variations. The first one for the hip flexor stretch is going to be a kneeling version. So for the kneeling version, you're going to go 1 knee down on the ground, 1 foot forward like this. Make sure you're standing next to something like a table, the wall, possibly a chair so that you can keep your balance. You're not going to be tempted to fall over side to side. From here, lean into the front leg, keeping everything nice and straight from your hip to your lower back. Just looking to lean in with enough range of motion to get a nice deep stretch right here in the front of the hip. You're going to hold it about 30 to 60 seconds and then slowly back out of that. For the standing version, it's pretty similar. All you're going to do is being in a split stance from here, sort of like a fencer stance. And you're going to keep that back knee nice and straight. Make sure that your back is up nice and right in a good posture. And then you're just gonna do the same thing. Lean into that front leg here until you feel a nice, good, deep stretch through the front of the hip there. You're gonna hold that for, again, roughly about 30 to 60 seconds and then slowly back out of that exercise and then stand up straight to finish. For the hip flexor stretch, a couple key things to pay attention to. Make sure that the stretch is uncomfortable but not unbearable. We don't want to stretch to pain. We just want to make sure we're getting a nice deep stretch into the hip flexor. Try to do this multiple times throughout the day to give him a little bit of extra tension and recovery. Especially after practice, be sure to do the stretch as well, as the hip flexor will undergo a lot of repetitive motion just to help him loosen up. The next exercise we're going to go over is called a dynamic hip 90-90. Our hips undergo a lot of repetitive range of motion while we're swimming, especially for breaststrokers, paying attention to a lot of internal and external rotation. So a lot of inward and outward rotation of the hips. So paying attention to these ranges of motion and helping the hips prepare to perform that over and over and over again during a race or in practice is especially important to help reduce the risk of injury. For this exercise, we're going to be down sitting on the ground. You're going to get into the position on the ground like so. When you're setting up the position, you want to have 1 leg forward, 1 leg bent back like this, making sure to keep your foot, the same knee, and the opposite foot in a straight line like so. From there, you're going to turn your upper body towards the front knee and just hang out here for a little bit, let the hips settle, especially if you're feeling a deep stretch. And then from there, all you're going to do is try to use mostly your legs to switch to the opposite side. From there, you're just going to settle into this position again, so like so, making sure that if you're feeling a deep stretch, you're letting it settle and relax before you move on to the next one. And then you'll repeat this both directions. Back and forth like this. Make sure to perform this at least twice a day to help warm up the hips and get them used to the range of motion, especially for the breaststrokers out there. Try to perform this for about 10 to 20 reps total, which would be roughly about 5 to 10 on each leg, especially before you swim to help the legs warm up and get ready for a lot of the repetitive motion they're going to undergo during your race or practice. The next exercise we're going to be performing is called a sideline hip adduction, which means we're going to be strengthening and paying attention to the muscles on the inside of the leg here that help bring the leg inward. And this is going to be very important for breaststrokers to help avoid injury because they're going to be performing a lot of powerful kicks that's going to focus a lot on sweeping the legs in, right? So making sure those muscles of the leg are strong enough to help prepare them for a lot of that repetitive motion is going to be very important. Starting off with the position of this exercise, we're going to be down on the ground, laying on our side. So you're going to be roughly about this position through here, making sure that the bottom leg is nice and straight. Bring the top leg over the other leg like so. And then from here, you're just going to settle in comfortably to this position, and then you're going to focus on using the muscles on the inside of your leg to help draw the foot up towards the ceiling like this. Now, make sure while you're performing this exercise that you're doing so in a nice, slow and controlled manner, really squeezing the muscles on the inside of the leg up at the top and slowly letting him lower back down to the ground like so. Key points to focus on for this exercise: make sure that it's pain-free. 2, make sure that you're trying to do this roughly about 2 to 3 rounds twice a day for roughly about 8 to 12 reps. Or if you're really good at this exercise, look at a rep range that's a little bit higher, just something that's going to be challenging you and getting a good workout for the muscles of that leg. The next exercise we're going to go over is a glute bridge with adduction. Okay, so this is going to be a bit of a combo exercise where we're going to be, again, focusing on strengthening the adductors for those breaststrokers out there, but also getting to focus on some of the muscles that help surround the hip itself, right? So really focusing on the muscles of the glutes, which are a big driver of hip extension, which is again a very important movement for butterfly, backstroke, and freestyle. Starting off for this exercise, you're gonna be down on the ground, lying flat on your back. We're gonna make sure that we have an object like a soft ball or a pillow or a thick blanket that you can roll up multiple times, just to allow us to have something that we can place between the knees and squeeze together so we can start training the adductors while we do this. Starting off, you'll take your object, place it right between the knees like so, lay flat on your back like this, and then squeeze your object together with your knees, hold that squeeze, and then from there, use your glutes to drive your hips up, creating a nice flat bridge between the legs, the hips, and the abdomen, and then slowly lower your hips back down to the ground. Again, make sure to hold that squeeze between your knees on that object so that you're training the adductors the whole time while you perform each rep. A couple key points for this exercise. Shoot for about roughly 2 to 3 rounds twice a day for a rep range of about 8 to 12 reps, or a challenging rep range for you that is a good workout for the muscles we're targeting, but again, is not painful. I hope you found these exercises helpful. If you have any issues with the exercises or anything else that pops up, please feel free to contact me at my email right here, or if you need to schedule with me, please call our office at this number right here.